Good morning, everyone. I am Shelly Nabaira, BE Ed 2A. Our topic for today is all about social observational learning by Albert Bandura. So, first we have basic premise. In the basic premise, we learn behavior through observation. So, vicarious reinforcement. We can learn through observing consequences of behavior of others. Modeling. Observe behavior of others and repeat the behavior. So, sa observe to the behavior, kung alin man daw atong nakikita, aton man nga ginatugad or someone sa mga, especially natatabo sa mga child. Babdal Studies, 1963. Disinhibition, weakening of inhibition through exposure to a model. We have factors influencing modeling. In fact, tendency to imitate characteristics of the models. We have similarity, age, sex, status, prestige, simple versus complex behavior. Characteristic of observers. We have low self-confidence, reinforcement for imitation. Rewards, consequences of behavior, directly witnessing associated rewards. The observational learning process have 4 steps. First, step 1, attentional processes. Developing cognitive process to pay attention to a model more developed. Process in allow for a better attention. Step 2, retention processes. For the retention processes, to later imitate behavior, must remember aspects of the behavior and retain information in 2 ways. So, we need to imagine internal representation, visual, or image. For example, forming a mental picture. For the verbal system, we have verbal description of behavior. Next, step 3, production processes. Taking imaginal and verbal representations and translating into over behavior, practice behaviors. So we have to receive feedback on accuracy of behavior. How have you imitated the modeled behaviors? Important in mastering difficult skills. Example is driving a car. Step 4, incentive and motivational processes. With incentives, observational more quickly becomes action. We need to pay more attention to retain more information. Incentive to learn influenced by anticipated reinforcements. Aspects of the self, reinforcement and self-efficacy. Self-reinforcement, reward or punishment given to oneself for reaching, exceeding, or falling short of personal expectations. Example, our pride, our shame, and guilt. Self-efficacy, we have to believe in ability to cope with life. Meeting standards enhances self-efficacy. Failure to meet standards or reduce self-efficacy. Next, we have self-efficacy. Self-efficacy have a high self-efficacy. According to high self-efficacy, we believe that we can deal effectively with life events. Our confident in abilities. For example, our not being shy. Confident in abilities, expect to overcome obstacles effectively. Low self-efficacy. We feel unable to exercise or control over life. Low confidence, believe all efforts are fertile. Sources of information in determining self-efficacy. Vicarious experience. So we experienced that having seeing others or a person successfully, if they can do, we can do. Verbal persuasion. Verbal persuasion reminds us of abilities. Physiological and emotional arousal related to perceived ability to cope. Calm, composed feelings, higher self-efficacy. For developmental stages of modeling and self-efficacy. Childhood. So we start infancy. Direct modeling immediately following observation. Develop self-efficacy with control over environment. By age 2, develop attentional, retention, and production processes to model behaviors sometime after observation, not immediately. So, gastart yun ni karon do pagiging observant it isang ka-child by the age of 2 years old. Adolescence involves coping with new demands. Success depends on level of self-efficacy established during childhood or we have next adulthood 2 periods. We have young adulthood, adjustment, career, marriage, parenthood. We have high self-efficacy to adjust successfully. Middle child adulthood, adjustment, re-evaluate career, family life. Need to find opportunities to continue to enhance self-efficacy. Di karon yung start do atong plan in the future for having a family or not. Decline for the old age, decline in mental, physical function, retirement. So, sa old age, start yung di karon do age 8 senior citizen. Requires reapproval of abilities. So, sa yung old age do mga senior di yun hingan ka function because of their abilities. Belief in ability to perform to task throughout the lifespan. So, mahina ang ando-anda nga pag-grow it anda nga ability dahil waon sa dahingan it masyado nga forced. Application of social learning theory. Behavior modification. Fears and phobias. So, we need guided participation, observe and imitate. Covist, modeling, imaginal. Anxiety. Fear of mental treatment and test anxiety. So, as a student, we experience anxiety as always. Assessment of Bandura's theory. Wield self-efficacy. Age and gender for differences. Physical appearance, academic performance, career choice and job performance. Our physical health, mental health or coping with stress. So, assessment of Bandura's theory. Television and aggressive behaviors. We need the relationship between watching violence and imitating violence. Strength. Focused on observable behavior, research support, practical application to real-world problems. In the large-scale changes, we have gestural psychology. The term gestural means form-on configuration proponents are May Wentrimer, Wolfgang Kohler, and Kurt Koffa. They studied perception and concluded that perceivers or learners were not passive but rather that active. So, there's have principles of Gestalt principles. First, law of proximity, law of similarity, law of closure, law of consummation, law of good fragrance, law of figure and ground rather. Law of proximity. So, at the end of my report, I have quotes of Albert Bandura that I would like to share to everyone. So I will read this. Fortunately, most human behavior is learned observationally through modeling from others. So, duyan do ako nga gimbuon nga quotation sa Albert Bandura cause I know nga some behavior ba human hay na-learn naton so by having an observation kung alin do nakikita naton kanda, especially when it comes to child. So, that's end my report. Thank you.